Baseball is dead.
Rest in peace.
It is Monday. I lose track of time in October. I feel like everyone else kind of, if you're a baseball fan, diehard baseball fan, weekends, weekdays, doesn't matter, especially when your team is in it. I can't even imagine, like being someone, like no one on this podcast has a team that's in it besides Jayhay. But I remember the days when I used to have a team in it. You know what take I've been kind of sitting on for the last 48 hours or so is this is probably the first postseason I can remember in quite some time, maybe in my lifetime, where outside of obviously the Yankees Royals series, I'm satisfied with whoever moves on. Like I can get behind a Tigers run, a Guardians run. I can get behind a Dodgers storyline playing out, a Padres storyline playing out, and the Mets and Phillies. Either like I'm just watching these games where I'm like, I guess excited for whoever's hitting homers, but rooting for whoever's behind because I want to see the comeback. Like I don't really have a matchup besides Royals Yankees where I'm actively, like, no matter what the situation is, rooting for one team in particular. I don't know if you guys feel the same.
Well, it's good. First and foremost, it's good baseball. I think secondarily, there's the youth on display. And I think we all gravitate towards, and I think baseball fans in general, and maybe it's because the youth of the game is going this way, the fandom is going this way, but I think because the storylines surrounding good young teams is also very prevalent, that's something that I think has the baseball world's attention as well. That's why, I build the Kansas City Royals and Yankees series as such. You've got, the old guard per se, and Aaron Judge as the perennial MVP candidate. And then you've got the new kid on the block, Bobby Witt Jr., who's like, hey, buddy, we're not just going to let them start handing out MVPs in June to the big boy in New York. That ain't going to happen. I'm here now. I'm going to have something to say about it. So you have that going on. But I think ultimately it's the back and forth. It's the seesaw battles. I don't think we haven't watched someone outside of last night just get absolutely bitch slapped and to the point where the games are not interesting. And you're just like, you know what? I see what this looks like. I got to move on. I don't even want to entertain the rest of this series. We haven't had that.
Jay,
I was talking to members of my family last night, and I ranked the remaining teams in order of my interest in seeing them win the World Series. So it's fitting that you brought this up as kind of the intro discussion point.
Yeah, sure.
And I had the Tigers last.
Ooh.
Now, and I think that actually speaks to exactly what you're talking about, which is I can't conjure up any hate towards the Tigers. I don't hate the Tigers. I don't hate any player on the team. And my justification for putting them last at the time was that I don't really want to see a team that I don't think was actually World Series quality go on to win the World Series. But if that's my biggest complaint, and a miracle Tigers run would be the least palatable outcome to me, which I think would become more palatable the more magical and longer it went on, by the way. So this take would dissipate. But I think that speaks to exactly what you're talking about, which is that you can sell and buy into a storyline for every single one of these franchises, and kind of sell yourself on any particular World Series matchup, which I think it's great for game this season, and I think it's great for us covering and the viewers and people watching.
And I think, just to elaborate on your point, Jayhay, the fact that if it were a Tigers run specifically, it would have to go deep. And I mean like game 6 of the World Series deep, because that is when the new kid on that team, or the new group on that team, the core, that's when you would start to see these guys revealed. How we talk about the postseason being the birthplace of superstardom and stardom at times. Just, hey, guess who's here now? Like let's say it's a Jackson Jobe who is handed the ball in a big start, and the kid dials up 7 shut. And then the next time out gives you something similar. You're like, oh, fuck, is this the coming out party of Jackson Jobe? Like just something like that.
Joe, where are you at on this? I know you have multiple teams that are in it, so it's kind of hard to, get that neutral fan take when your Mets and your Phils are still in it. But if you could put that aside for a minute.
Yeah, I mean, it's a win-win, lose-lose for me because all my squads are still in there.
Right.
But it's like, I gotta agree with you, man. Like all the teams in here are interested in their own right. Even the underdog Mets and the underdog Tigers don't really. I mean, the Mets. I think the Mets might be the best team in baseball right now. I wouldn't even really call them underdogs right now, the way they're playing. I mean, in the past, like last year with the Diamondbacks, I really didn't like that. They were the underdog team, but it didn't really have that fucking pizzazz.
Yeah.
That they needed, that like made them interesting on another level, which I think the Tigers and the Mets especially right now have. Like the Miracle Mets are fucking hitting the ball like crazy.
Yeah, like Corbin Carroll and Ketel Marte weren't exactly household names in America at the time of the D-backs World Series run. Yeah, they didn't.
The Mets got juice.
They had some juice, but like I feel like the Mets have been spending the last few years kind of building up their stock within the baseball world. People know Pete Alonso. This is what Pete Alonso died for in the home run derby. It's so that by the time the Mets got to the playoffs, people knew who the fuck Pete Alonso was. Francisco Lindor, like these guys, these people know these guys. They're like, oh, see, so this is kind of like a parallel take. And all right. This is another take that I have that's not going to be popular, but we got to talk about it. All right. The how many at bats until Shohei Ohtani's up thing. You seeing this, Dallas?
Yeah. Hold on. What's your?
You got
what's
a hot take on this?
I got a hot take on this.
Well, I mean, hold on. I hope you don't think that like not liking it is a nuclear take. Like I saw a lot of people who are like, "Are you fucking?"
Can I give the take?
Right, no,
can I give the take before you give your take on my take?
I don't want to hear. All right, I'll let me take a step back and wait.
All right, take a step back. Yeah, take a step back on that take because I like it. It's not for me. It's not for me. So I think where other sports get snobby and gatekeepy about their sport. I mean, if I'm especially like, for me and my household, I know that, D-Train, she had the prediction of 6 stolen bases for Bobby Witt. She's locked in, like she's a huge baseball fan. But, someone like that, right? Where you have a diehard baseball fan in the household. They know the name Shohei Ohtani. They don't they've maybe never seen him play, but he's transcended the sport so much where it's like, I know the name, but I haven't sat down and watched the Shohei Ohtani at bat. Like these games are going to be on in-house. Like put it this way, in the Northeast, how many baseball fans in the Northeast are sitting down to watch West Coast baseball games? I know we are. We're doing that, but we're baseball diehards. You may think of it as even a somewhat casual to non-existent baseball fan has heard the name Shohei Ohtani, has never seen him play baseball before. I don't really care who wins, Dodgers, Padres. I don't know any other players' names, but I know Shohei Ohtani. Oh, he's up in 3 batters. All right, cool. I'll stick around. And you sit down to watch Shohei because you've heard you want to see what the hype is all about. And next thing you know, you hang in. You're like, oh, I'm going to watch another inning. I want to see when he comes up again. And that's how new fans are created. So I know that people are mocking it and be like, oh, the glazing, it's out of control. And, they're sucking Shohei's dick. Like they are using Shohei to bring in a new era of baseball fan in a way that Mike Trout never was either A, appealing or B, interested in participating.
Well, I think he was appealing enough at a certain point in time.
Available in the month of October.
Well, that's a big one. Trust me, that's the biggest one. I think Mike Trout was, you were able to do this around him to a certain extent, but it was more of just, hey, check in on this crazy superstar. Yeah. What Shohei Ohtani gives you is the opportunity to almost, from a football fan standpoint, because that's where these notices were popping up, right? Was on the scoreboard or the score bugs of some of the NFL games. And it's like Shohei Ohtani's hitting in 4-hitter. What the fuck is this? Who is this guy? What's going on? And it's like you can almost tease the football fan watching that game to go ahead and dial up the baseball version of a touchdown by switching over to Ohtani's at bat, because this guy might hit a ball 1,000 feet. And you have not had somebody to like gear up around like that to this extent, where Ohtani's name, because of what he's done, not only on the mound, but now at the plate, which is in the forefront of everybody's mind. That's the lure. That's what can bring everybody in. So I'm absolutely here for baseball taking advantage of a guy that they can build this around.
Well, hold that thought, because October is when baseball legends are made. Begin your road to greatness on Underdog, where you can make picks of all your favorite players' stats. All you have to do is choose higher or lower on things like strikeouts, total bases, home runs. You could win up to 1,000 times your money playing their pick'em game. Sign up for Underdog using the promo code Jared. That's Jared, and you'll get a free pick as part of your first cash entry, plus up to $1,000 in bonus cash when you deposit. Again, that is promo code Jared, Jared. Cash in on every home run during the playoffs with Underdog. But Jayhay, did you have a thought on this Shohei thing?
Yeah, I do. I agree with you. I think it's unequivocally good.
Yeah.
And the Venn diagram of people who are complaining about the Shohei coming up graphic and the people who will tell you that MLB makes no effort and is terrible at marketing their stars is one circle. Okay. So I don't want to hear it from those people. And in fact, I immediately dismiss that because it's just people complaining to complain. And if given the opportunity, if they didn't do the Shohei Ohtani batter up thing, and those same people were given an opportunity to complain about MLB not properly marketing and pushing Shohei Ohtani, they would do that instead. So I personally am more, outside of the stream that we did together, I am more likely to be watching baseball games, postseason baseball games, with people where that graphic is definitely helpful and attractive to their interests than I am to be watching with people who would find that to be a turnoff. So I just, they can lose me with that stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like my grandmother, and I'm not lying. My grandmother will gravitate towards this. We'll because she comes over and we all watch baseball together. And when she sees this pop up, she's going to be like, oh, really? Hey,
yeah,
put it over on Ohtani.
Right.
I like it.
I like it too.
I don't
Jayhay
just like
and
it.
my grandmother in on the same shit.
Yeah,
all right?
I don't just like it on behalf of other people. I like it for my own interests. I like knowing when Shohei Ohtani is going to be up, because you know what? I don't miss those at bats. And if I have to leave for another person's at bat, then I have to leave. But I'm barring a real situation. I'm not leaving for Shohei Ohtani's at bat. And I'm going to make sure that I'm in position when I know for sure. Now, most of the time I'm paying close enough attention where I know when he's coming up, regardless of the score graphic. But why not cover my bases, right? I love it.
I mean, maybe this is a hot take, but maybe it doesn't play because Ohtani's in that same spot too. But there's probably only one other at bat that I would even consider.
Judge.
No, nope. And it's a very niche at bat.
Higashioka.
Nope. I'm going to need to see Kyle Schwarber's leadoff at bat. I'm going to need to see that. I need to see the first pitch of that game. I got to see that at bat. If that at bat is going on and it's Ohtani's leadoff at bat, man, I don't know. I got Ohtani's going to get to hit again. Schwarber's not going to get to lead off the game again. And I want to see that. I want to watch that because that's going to be, it could be fucking 1-0 in the blink of an eye.
Yeah, it could be.
It was.
Yeah. On the opposite end of former Red Sox postseason legends, Mookie Betts sucks, huh? Like this guy, the big moment is too big for this small, diminutive man. It is.
Hey, Jared, I know you've been seeing him wear sunglasses inside.
Yeah.
Maybe it's time to start wearing them at the games too.
Oh. Yeah, I mean, over 21.
This guy chokes, huh?
Yeah, I mean, a shout out to Jergy though. I mean, Mookie almost had that home run, but Jergy went in there, took it back. I feel like we got to start Dodgers Padres. Just sometimes there's recency bias, but truly, this is the hottest series going. I know Mets Phillies though. Mets Phillies has had some haymakers That series had some haymakers, and we're going to get to that one too. But I feel like coming off of Padres Dodgers last night, this has got some old school Red Sox Yankees vibes to it, where the fucking fans are pissed. The players don't like each other.
Ew.
And even the guys that just got here, like Jack Flaherty, I mean, he was a Detroit Tiger, St. Louis Cardinal, Baltimore Oriole. Like, this is not a lifelong Dodger that's like, God damn, I hate these Padres. They keep beating us in the playoffs. Like, I'm fucking sick of it. It's like, no, he just got there. And he's sick of Manny Machado shit. And you got Jergy battling it out with the fans out there in left field. A lot of bad blood in this series. But last night's game, Fernando Tatis Jr., by the way, this man, I know people ever since the PED suspension have decided they're just out on Tatis. He does not give a fuck. Like, there are certain guys that, I got popped for this, or I got arrested for that, and or I got suspended. Like, Bregman, go back and watch the Alex Bregman interviews before the cheating scandal. He was cocky as fuck. Like, he didn't give a shit. He played the heel so good. Ever since the cheating scandal, his interviews are just very clean cut, very just PR coached, and like, he's not giving you nothing. He's not giving you that pizzazz anymore. Tatis got suspended for PEDs, came back, and he is taunting the fans. He's gyrating his dick in right field. He's doing the tears. He's sticking his tongue out like Devon Dudley on the top rope. That's a great reference. You may not have gotten it, but it's fucking amazing. That's what I respect most about him, is that not only can he play the heel, not only can he be the bad guy in the middle of Dodger Stadium, a hostile environment, but he's going to go out there and sock a couple home runs and a double in the same game and tell you to fuck off at the same time. Like, there's guys that will mouth off, and it's like, who are you? Karim Garcia. Who the fuck is Karim Garcia? Like, talking shit to Pedro in the playoffs. You're Karim Garcia.
Good cut.
You know, Fernando Tatis Jr., he's going to talk that shit. He's going to mock the whiny ass fans, and then he's going to hit 2 home runs and a double in a 10-2 victory over the Dodgers. That's what he's about. So that's why I'm super locked in on this series. It's been very entertaining, and there's multiple angles that we could attack so far. Would you guys like to begin with the Jack Flaherty, Manny Machado incident? I know Jack Flaherty, friend of the program. Dallas, where do you land on this?
I need footage, first of all, and I have yet to come across it, of Manny throwing the ball into the dugout, right? We need footage of that, because that's what was taken exception to.
Apparently.
That is the tipping point. That is 100,000 million% the tipping point. And I haven't seen footage of that, because what's being processed there, what's being interpreted is the intent behind throwing the ball into the dugout. And Manny says, I get rid of baseballs all the time, whether it's scuffs, blah, blah, blah. I throw balls in the dugout all the time. Okay, fair enough. Let's say we were tracking the average velocity of Manny's throws on these balls across a full season. And let's say none of them happen to eclipse the 12-mile-an-hour mark. I have no idea. I'm making up a fucking number, okay? And now let's say this one was thrown in at, 36 miles an hour. Okay? You see what I'm getting at?
That's
too fast.
That's where the footage of what this looks like would really help, and would really, I think, shed some light on this, because ultimately all you have is 2 guys bitching about one action, and it can be said that one guy's a little too sensitive, and it could be said that the other guy is just too much of a dick to care. And that, based on what color hat you're wearing to the ball game that day, I could probably guess what perspective you have. So if we remove that and can agree that that was probably something that clearly fired the boys up one way or the other,
yeah,
we can start from there, because there you have Jack Flaherty vocally saying, what the fuck is this? Right? His interpretation of it. And then you have Manny going, what the fuck? Okay, yeah, I'll meet you outside. I'll meet you. No problem. Oh, okay, great. That's where we're
Dallas, if I had asked you before game 1 of this series, give me one guy from the Dodgers and one guy from the Padres that are the most likely to have conflict with each other in a high pressure competition. Like, these are the two guys. Like, Manny Machado, everyone has a problem with, and Jack Flaherty is very emotionally charged, highly competitive. And I'm not saying that, other pitchers on the Dodgers are not, but like, if you've got if Jack Flaherty has a problem with you, it's kind of like a mortal enemy for life type thing. Like, he's like, if you're in his circle, you're good. If you're not, it's fuck you forever type deal. So the fact that these two have found each other 2 games into the series surprised me none.
Yeah, well, like I said, the whole answer to all of this for everybody who's frothing at the mouth to try to, take a bite out of this and blame somebody for what it would just be that footage right there. All right, what because it's probably just an underhand firing of the ball into the dugout. But if it's coming in hot and it hits somebody, because that was sort of the thought, right? Was their guys getting drilled. So this is Manny coming back. Like, you want to drill Tatis? Okay, well, here's this. And Manny's like, no. I always get rid of baseballs. I always throw balls in the dugout. It's like, okay, well, this time, did the ball come out hot? And do you understand why people might tie that to your teammate just getting drilled? So we have your teammate getting hit, and then we have you throwing this ball perceivably really hard into the dugout. That's Jack Flaherty, I think, putting 2 and 2 together and going, fuck that. What's all that about? I got something for that ass. And Manny's going, okay, bring it. Don't sing it. Bring it.
Then why not throw it, Manny? Why hit Tatis?
Well, the idea of him hitting Tatis is where the conversation starts, because Flaherty's going, you think that's what I'm trying to do? You think I'm trying to put the fucking leadoff guy on?
Is it?
Like,
yeah. Wasn't that Smoltz? Was it Smoltz on the call? That was. It was. I believe it was what, the 5th inning,
sixth inning,
sixth inning leadoff batter. Nobody out. 3-1 ball game.
What are you doing?
He smokes him right in the thigh, and like Smoltz immediately is like, well, that's obviously not. It can't be intentional. You're not going to try to put the leadoff runner on in a 2-run game in the playoffs. Like, why not? Why not? I feel like
what do you mean? Time out. Like, seriously, why not? Because if we're seriously asking that question, then we need to have a chat offline. Like, I can't conceivably believe that.
You think that wasn't intentional?
What? You want to put a leadoff guy on in the playoffs?
I have to think that was intentional. Yes.
It's a close game.
Yeah, it's a close game, but
I put that guy on base, and now it's one pitch, completely different ballgame.
Well, that's what happened. Yeah.
I'll say this: fucking Tatis has killed Flaherty, killed him, and already had a home run off him.
Correct.
Absolutely. What is it? It's 6 for 9. It was 6 for 9 with 6 extra base hits or 5 extra base hits.
Was it also not the first pitch of the at bat too?
Yeah. So I'm not sure if it was 0-1.
It was 0-1.
Oh, it was 0-1.
So Jared, here's the thing, man, and this is where, and please don't. I don't want any of you acting like I'm speaking down to you right now. I just want you to understand. I don't think, if we look at where Jack Flaherty has come from and where he's at in this moment right now, right? He came from a team who was essentially being considered a group of guys who were not ready and couldn't get there. And Jack Flaherty was a part of that equation that was not going to get the Detroit Tigers to where they wanted to be. So they let him go. He's now in a position where he's knocking on the door of an extended postseason run. And you're identifying him as a super competitive individual, which is, you're correct. We all know that about Jack. So in this moment, against a guy who has absolutely fucking owned him as a competitor, you've got a decision to make here. I either go and attack this guy, and I believe my stuff's good enough, and I'm going to fight in this fucking at-bat, or I'm going to concede it by never ever trying to pitch to this dude and just giving him the outside part of the plate and never ever trying to do work in so that I can get this fucking guy out away like I'm probably trying to do. And in a moment where I need to compete for my team, I can't let any sort of angst I might have towards this dude get in the way of my team making a postseason run. So I'm ahead in the at-bat 0-1. I've struggled to get this fucking guy out. I've got to make a pitch here to set up the finish of this at-bat. So he tries to go in, clips the leg, right? It's not like he squared him up in the middle of the back where Fernando couldn't go anywhere. I mean, he hit him in the fucking thigh, clipped his thigh.
Yeah, that's
what and so I can't believe in a moment like that, Jack Flaherty's going, all right, here we go. 6th inning. Here's the moment where I tell Fernando Tatis to kiss my ass in a 3-1 game in the postseason. I'm going to clip the thigh instead of putting one right in his fucking rib cage or right in his back. If there's any intent in that and you want to show the world that you got big balls and this is how you're going to do it, put one on his fucking ribs. Put one in the back and leave no doubt.
Well, no, then that's when you risk suspension. That's when you risk suspension.
No.
I mean, in Dallas, he hit one batter with the Dodgers. He hit 4 batters all year. So, like, this is not someone that has control problems. Like, it's a crazy comparison to make. But Pedro was like, I never hit a batter by accident. Like,
yeah, that's an absolute. You're right.
Big league pitcher,
we'll just
like,
stop
can
right
put
there.
the ball
That's a
where he
crazy
wants.
comparison to make. You just
I understand that, but
this
is someone that has
control.
This guy
Martinez.
has control. Like, he's not throwing wild pitches. He threw 2 wild pitches with the Dodgers. 6 wild pitches. Like, this is not a guy.
How many pitches had he thrown in the postseason leading up to that?
I don't know, but
how many, Joe?
I'm gonna say a lot in 2019.
The point is that he has control.
Braves
He's
twice.
not a guy that throws a lot of wild pitches. He's not a guy that hits a lot of guys.
He's got playoff experience.
He hit a guy that has a ton of success off of him after an incident had occurred with Manny Machado, and he didn't hit Manny Machado because then you risk suspension. You hit the guy the best player, a guy that has success off of you, and was jawing at Machado right after. I mean, like, all the facts are right there. I get what you're saying. Is it smart to put the leadoff guy on? No. In a 2-run game in the playoffs that you're losing, is that smart? No, it's not. It's not strategic baseball. But I mean, when you look at all the facts, yeah, I would say that there's it's more than plausible that was intentional. Yes. Does anyone else have an opinion on this?
I'd say probably not, but maybe.
Okay.
But probably not on purpose.
Okay.
But
Jayhay?
maybe.
Yeah, I mean, I'm closer to Joe on this one, actually. I hate to be kind of cop out on that, but I think it may have been unintentional with the idea that Flaherty knew exactly what might happen if he threw a 2-seamer located where he did, because he said, he gives a quote about, missing over the plate the first time and wasn't going to miss over the plate again. And so did he throw at him to put him on base? I don't believe that he did. No, but I think he knew what the risk was of pitching where he did. And that's obviously a risk that people take all the time. But is it a different way to answer that? Was he surprised that he ended up hitting him? I would bet he also wasn't surprised that he ended up hitting him.
Sure.
I'm also fine
that's
with
a decision that's made too on the mound. That's what I'm trying to explain to you guys.
I understand what you're saying.
I have to pitch in. I have to do work in. And instead of Jack Flaherty bitching out like Garrett Cole and throwing up 4 fingers, instead of that happening, what you watched was what should have happened in a moment like that against a guy who absolutely fucking owns him. Is Jack Flaherty said, "Fuck you. I have to get you out. If I don't, what am I doing here?" Right? So, what would you rather have seen on the mound in that moment if you were one of Jack Flaherty's teammates? Would you have rather seen the Garrett Cole 4 fingers? Or would you rather have seen Jack Flaherty attack a guy and, to his credit, try to go about it in a way that we know as pitchers has to happen? It has to happen because Fernando Tatis Jr. has successfully cut the plate in half, taken ownership of one half because the other half has absolutely never been threatened with any sort of intent at all. And so Jack Flaherty made a business decision and said, I have to pitch in. And the high risk, high reward, if that's the case, the risk is I hit him. The reward is I'm able to pitch in and set up my stuff away to get the out. Because those conversations are very different than Jack Flaherty going, fastball away. No, fuck that. Slider away. No, fuck that. Fastball in. Nope. Shake. Fastball in. Fastball. Step off. Right. Doesn't get the pitch. Back in. Now he's on the pitch column going, fucking fastball in. And then he fucking drills him. That's the difference between intent on trying to hit Fernando Tatis Jr. and trying to pitch in so you can get the guy out who's owned you your entire career.
Yeah, I don't really have a problem. I'm not being overly critical of Jack Flaherty. I also don't think it's unfair for Manny Machado to respond to Flaherty hitting a guy who's kicked the shit out of him with a little bit of chirping and attitude. And I'm going to use this to fire my fucking team up as well. Like, oh, we don't go out there and hit Ohtani. We try to get him out, which to this point is true, right? So he can say that. They have just straight up pitched to Ohtani. Whether that is what they do moving forward, I guess is remains to be seen now that he's kind of subtly thrown that name out there. But like, I'm not mad at the reactions.
You think that was subtle, Jay?
Well, I guess unsubtle. Unsubtle reference to their best player. Now,
guess who's in the crosshairs? That's exactly what he's saying. And this is what happens, man. This is what happens. Is Manny took exception to it, and why wouldn't he? You're absolutely right. And should he have? Yes. Why? Because it's the dude who has absolutely crushed this guy, who is in the moment crushed this guy. So what other reaction would he have? Now it's okay. I see what you're doing. You're going after our best guy. Well, don't think that we don't understand what Ohtani is this thing on? What Ohtani means to your team. We know what Shohei Ohtani means to your team. Like, that's exactly what he just said. So he put them on notice. Want to fuck around? Fuck around and find out.
Better not hit Ohtani though, because I'll be pissed.
Yeah, I mean, I'd be pissed too, but
don't hit Ohtani.
I thought about that during the game last night. Like, if Ohtani got thrown at, just how weird it would be to see him get aggressive in like a violent manner. I don't think he has that in him. But the way that his teammates would respond to him being hurt, like, I feel like that would be quite the spectacle.
Korea threw at him in the WBC, and he gave the primal Shohei yell.
How about that bat flip? How about the bat flip?
That was so
Are you
cool.
fucking serious? He did that, and I'm not joking. I got chills, and I was like, ooh, who's this right now? Shit's getting crazy right now.
Did you see the press conference? He did a press conference before the playoffs started, and someone was like, "Hey, you nervous for your first time in the playoffs?" And he was like, "Nope."
Yep, and instantly backed it up with the clutch ass home run, and it's crazy because like, dude, this Dodgers team that chokes in the playoffs every year. It's almost kind of like a testament that how big of a difference Shohei is, not just because he's good, but the playoff fucking. Obviously, Shohei is a big addition to the squad, but like if this game happened last year, going down 3-0 in the first inning, usually you don't come back from that most times, and to get it back that quick in one swing, insane.
And it's also, this is getting ahead of ourselves, but like I felt some of what Dallas felt when he hit that home run. I also felt like an immediate sense of relief because baseball and sports in general love nothing more than to build up a guy and then wait for the moment when it's right to tear that person down. And what this sport really does not need is for Ohtani to struggle initially or in his first postseason appearance, and then people use that as an opportunity to say that the best thing to happen to Major League Baseball in our entire lifetimes actually isn't that special. So I'm glad that he started off with an emphatic home run, and I'm also glad that the Dodgers went on to win that game because it's inevitably not remembered in the same light if they lose the game. So hopefully they, for Shohei's sake, obviously, hopefully they win the series, and he's able to continue building the legend. But it was so satisfying to see that right off the bat, and I I have to do a mea culpa. I don't think I've ever had a worse take on any version of this podcast, maybe, than that this isn't a very good rivalry. Because
what? Oh yeah,
I was about to say that earlier. I was the only fucking one on the podcast who said it was a
fuck
rivalry.
you, Joe. I've been saying it for 5 fucking years.
Look what I've started. Well, maybe you guys should be the ones apologizing then.
Get the clip out.
I've been saying it since the fucking COVID year that Dodgers Padres is like it is
what
not quite 03, 06 Red Sox Yankees, not quite, because they, like I tweeted last night, I was like, they're due for an actual brawl. I don't think you're going to get that. You're not going to get that in the playoffs, but
why not? Hold on. Why not in the playoffs? If you have
people
drilling
people
drilling people intentionally in the playoffs, I don't know. But if you have people,
that shit always gets handled after. Like the Rangers and Blue Jays, they were like, yeah, like, man, fuck that Batista bat flip. I can't wait to beat the shit out of him in 9 months from now. Like have Matt Bush throw at him. He wasn't even on the fucking team. Like stuff like that doesn't play out in actual playoff series. They get chippy. You remember, but don't forget, and you handle it later. Like if there's a fight between the Padres and Dodgers, it's not going to happen in this series. But that's the only thing that this rivalry, this chapter of the rivalry is missing, is they haven't actually thrown punches yet.
Well, the fact that this is happening in the postseason, because a large part of, and what are you comparing this to, right? Like Jared, your default is always to compare Red Sox Yankees rivalry.
The peak.
And it's because that rivalry for a long time has been the gold standard in baseball. As we know it today, it's essentially non-existent because the teams are in different spots. Mm-hmm. So
and there's a bunch of pussies on the Yankees. Like imagine Garrett Cole trying to fight. Like
what gets you thirsty?
Like you're doing the doggy paddle.
You go back to the Dodgers Giants. All right, now that's the rivalry that we're starting to think about, because there's some very, 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 very bad blood that has spilled out into the fandom of these teams. So,
but not the players. Dodgers. Dodgers Giants to me. I kept like, I always hear about it. Like you never see it.
It was back. It was like 10 years ago with Puig and Bumgarner.
Yeah, but it was just between them two. Like it wasn't Dodgers fucking Giants. It was Madison Bumgarner and Yasiel Puig. That was the rivalry.
Those two were the spokesmen for the rivalry.
Was it though. Like they and then they like wasn't there an iteration of it where Puig wasn't even on the Dodgers anymore and it just continued?
Yeah, they beef when he was on the Reds. But also Max Muncy beef with Bumgarner. That had something to do with it.
And this all goes back. This all goes back to the 90s, and What do you got?
No, sorry. I was just going to say, but what separates this from that Giants Dodgers era, and I'm not the geographical thing, I'm not trying to dismiss, the star wattage that is going on between the Padres and the Dodgers at present day is something that aligns with the 03 era Yankees Red Sox, because that's part of what was compelling. It can only go so far in a rivalry if Yasiel Puig, who was, I know, a lower level star at the time or whatever. Yeah, like if he's the driving force, or a pitcher who only throws once every 5 days is the driving force, like that's going to struggle to get to the level that we're talking about. But when it's Manny Machado, who used to play for the Dodgers, when it's Fernando Tatis, when it's, when it could potentially be some of the other star players
Jackson
engaging
Merrill's
on the Dodgers side.
He's 21 years old.
Yeah, we haven't seen Mookie or Shohei get in that yet.
Jergy,
but like
Jergy's getting chippy out there.
The specter of them doing it exists, right? And
so the fact that they're around it, they're a part of the equation. So whatever role that they could conceivably start to take on in this theater, that's what's intriguing, right? Because you've already got Jurgensen Profar, and that's what I said. Dodgers fans, it's like it felt like Dodgers fans may have saw the tweet, like, "Hey, Dodgers fans back in the day." Dude enters the fray like that. He would have been coming out with a ripped jersey, bloody lip, like things. He's no chance he's getting out with that baseball. And you can see the Dodgers fans almost like, like shy away, and Jurgensen able to make the catch and bring it back, and then just absolutely stuck the knife in their heart.
Yeah,
Can't you see
Mookie running
you can
around
see
the
a fan
base.
like start to look around, like down at the bottom, like where's it at? And how about this? I got a take for you. Mookie Betts would have much rather have known that ball was caught immediately so he could peel off, as opposed to that may be the most embarrassed that Mookie Betts has ever felt on a baseball field, is having to jog it out, feeling like he hit the homer, and then realizing he indeed did not hit the homer.
Especially to solidify like an 0 for 20 streak.
There you go, Joe, because that homer puts him on the board. It puts them on the board. It does a lot for everybody in the moment. And instead, it's the other team's villain, right? Outside of, I guess, at this point in time, Machado now, who has taken that from Tatis and said, you're not gonna pick on our best guy. I'll be the dude that you put the bullseye on, and let Jergy just do court gesture things, and let Jergy do Jergy things, and let it all play out.
I've got a take that I've been working up since the end of game 2. And speak up if you agree. Speak up if you agree.
I feel comfortable speaking up on this podcast.
Yeah, speak up if you agree with the take that I'm about to share with you guys. Just going by body language, actions, vibes. Does anyone else get the sense that the Padres just want it way more than the Dodgers? Like, outside of Shohei showed like he's got the emotion, he's got the passion, he's got the fire. But the Padres, especially after that meeting in the dugout that Manny Machado had where he's firing up the boys, they were already up like 5-1 at the time, 6-1. I think that's when they kind of just like poured it on even more. But the fire that the Padres are playing with collectively, you can see it, you can feel it. It's there. Then you watch the Dodgers and it's like they're kind of just going through the motions. Like, this is a team that you get to October every single year. We've got a bunch of MVPs in the lineup. We know that we're really good at baseball. But outside of Shohei, like, I think like when you watch the Padres and the way that they play and the emotions that they're showing, like it's like growing up, I noticed the difference between my guys during the regular season and my guys during the postseason. They became different guys, and you had to. I mean, the Red Sox were never the best team, so they kind of just like had to take on this like werewolf personality where it's like, hey man, we got to go through the Yankees. Like, we got to go through them. And you heard Manny Machado talk, or maybe you didn't. Manny Machado on the postgame was talking, doing the interviews with Poppy and A-Rod and Jeter. And he said, listen, all year long, we know that if we want to go to the World Series, we have to go through the Dodgers. Like, the Padres have been thinking about this series all year. Like, we're not stupid. We know if we want to play in the World Series and win one, we have to go through the Dodgers to do it. I don't know, like, admittedly, like it's almost like a weakness to say, like, yeah, we've been thinking about you. Like, people take that as a negative, like, oh, we've been rent free. They've been thinking about the Dodgers. The Dodgers haven't even been thinking about you. It's like, all right, well, maybe you should have been. Maybe you should have been thinking about the Padres a little more, because they're for real and they just kicked your ass last night. I'm not saying that the series is over, but my read on it from watching these first 2 games is that the Padres are more focused, playing with more passion, fire, and intensity. And it's like the Padres have had the Dodgers circled on their calendar for 3 months, whereas the Dodgers were just like, all right, another postseason, ho hum, like, let's go to Dodger Stadium and play some baseball.
So the broad brush stroke analogy comparison is one team is the Mighty Ducks, the other team is Iceland. The Mighty Ducks have the characters. The Mighty Ducks have the energy. The Mighty Ducks have the storylines behind them. The Mighty Ducks have the feel-good vibe going on. And that sort of underdog, right? That's who the San Diego Padres are. Not necessarily underdogs, because we've talked about the star power for the San Diego Padres, but comparatively speaking to the Dodgers, maybe considered underdogs. And who are the Dodgers? Well, that would leave them to be Iceland, who have just been the perennial powerhouse, who have been the steady sort of foundation of the division, and everything has absolutely gone through them. You want the medal, you got to beat Iceland. You got to beat Iceland. And that's where Gordon Bombay has got to figure out a way to get these boys and girls skating together. Can we create the flying V? That's what they're trying to do.
Mm-hmm.
I think from the Dodgers' perspective, you have to remember that while they have been the stalwarts, while they have been the leaders in the clubhouse for so long, they're also fighting an uphill battle because they do not have the personnel that they would like to be going into the postseason with that would make them feel as competitive as they could be. They are light, essentially an entire starting rotation worth of arms, right? That's and they know that about themselves. So it would not behoove them to go into this with a mindset that gives them any sort of false sense of security on who they are. And I think they have a very good idea of who they are, and they know that they are a cobra that has to coil and wait to strike. And if they go into this just there's a good chance that the mongoose catches them. And you don't want to fuck around with a mongoose because the mongoose, from a cobra's perspective, is impenetrable. You can't kill them with their poison. Doesn't land. So you don't want to get nabbed up by the mongoose. You got to pick your point to strike. And that's where the Dodgers are at. And I think the Padres, in that mighty duck fashion, know that and can sense that and are like, you know what? House money. We can play with our attitude. We can play with our style of baseball. And we know that these guys are feeling the pressure over there. Let's just have fun playing this game right now. Let's do it focused. Let's do it with intent, but let's have fun. Let's have fun, boys, and let's see how this works out. And I think you have two very different energies going on in those clubhouses right now.
Joe, am I onto something with this take?
Maybe, man. I think maybe these teams just kind of express themselves a little differently.
Okay.
You know,
Yeah.
the Dodgers, you might not see the outwardly fire, but to pretend like they don't want it and they're not trying their fucking hardest.
I'm not saying they don't want it.
I
don't want to say that they don't want it.
I know.
I think,
but they got some fire too, man. Jack Flaherty talking shit. They got Freddie Freeman stealing a base with a broken ankle. That was pretty fucking fire me up.
Dave Roberts was pissed.
Well, fuck Dave Roberts. Maybe he's right because Freddie did have to leave the game early.
Yeah, he's day-to-day
exactly.
He's day to day now.
Like, do you need Freddie fucking swiping bags or do you need Freddie in the lineup? I need Freddie in the lineup. Freddie, marinate.
I think, Jared, let me hit you back with your take, okay?
Yeah, please, yeah.
I think you are emotionally prepped for the Padres to win this series, and you are looking for confirmation bias of that. Little peek behind the curtain, folks. There were a lot of people getting nervous about this Dodgers start after this Dodgers series after they went down 3-0. Okay.
Don't say any names, Jay.
A lot of
No
people
names.
who are day to day with ankle sprains jumping off that wagon. Okay.
No names.
And I think we've reached a point where I'm not going to speak for Dodgers fans, but I think for let's just say national folks, I think there is an aura of underachievement as it relates to the Dodgers that doesn't impact Shohei Ohtani, but transcends the rest of the team. And I think there is a sense that people are waiting for them to underachieve because anything short of a World Series victory is an underachieving season for this team. So I feel like that and the actual compositions of these teams, as Joey pointed out, I think they're just made differently. They have different types of people on them. I don't think I've ever seen, like, Freddie Freeman has won a World Series, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Mookie Betts has won a World Series, multiple World Series. I don't ever recall a lack of want or a lack of grit from those guys, or Max Muncy's never been accused of that. He's also never been accused of being like the most physically demonstrative or boisterous player in the league either. I just think these are how these teams are made up. And when the Padres are winning the baseball games, it looks awesome. It looks as awesome as rooting for a team to win baseball games can look. And when the Dodgers are winning the baseball games, it's Shohei Ohtani doing his thing. And that's what we remember. So like I just think there's a built-in perception about these teams that's playing into this. And, you know, maybe the Padres go on and win it, but I don't think it's going to be because of more want or grit. I think it's going to be because these teams are very, very similarly talented as currently constructed, and that the series could go either way, which is what we talked about in the pre-pod.
The Dodgers have New England Patriot dynasty type expectations without the ring. Without the ring.
They've got a ring.
You know, well, okay, 2020. Well, yes. But like all of these expectations and the weight of them, it feels like are reserved for teams who are continually in the dance. Like almost the Buffalo Bills of the 90s. Like you're just losing Super Bowl after Super Bowl after Super Bowl after Super Bowl. Like you got to get there. And
the Yankees had the best record in the AL this year. Does anybody give a fuck about that internally or externally? Not really. Not really. It was the first time in 12 years that's happened. Anybody give a fuck? No, nobody cares. What they care about is this team in the World Series? And when they get to the World Series, if they do they know what they're going to care about then? Did we win the World Series? They're not going to care whether they made it. They're going to care whether they won. There, to your point, there are franchises that have this standard and there are franchises that don't. And in any given sport, the number is like 2 or 3 on one side and 28 or 29 on the other side. And that's just how sports works. And we can all name those teams.
Yep. There's teams that are actually trying to win the World Series, which means they're trying to get to the World Series. They'll do whatever they got to do in the moment if they're on the cusp. And we know who those, like you said, Jay, you said it. We know who those teams are.
But even there's a distinction even at that level. Like we all know the Phillies are trying to win the World Series and are doing everything they can, and we've praised them for doing so. And anything short of a World Series would be a disappointment. No problem there. But they're not held nationally at the same standard that the Yankees or Dodgers are, or that the Celtics or Lakers are, or that the Cowboys delusionally
and it's okay. Let it roll off the tongue. Just let it roll off the tongue.
Dynasty era Patriots where like it's a different animal, and the Dodgers, by their own making, with this success, have set themselves up for that standard. And I think that's part of why it feels like, oh, well, they won game 1 7-5 in pretty goddamn dramatic fashion with their best player hitting a 3-run homer in a bat flip. That was one of the first things that we talked about. And that's just like, well, that's just what it's supposed to be, right? Nobody expected the Padres really to be in this position looking this good relative to their opposition at the beginning.
I mean, that was an absolute bludgeoning last night, a bludgeoning.
Oh, and the Dodgers, like the aura of the one last thing, like the whole essence of the Dodgers and aura coming off of that game, everybody feels and looks worse because of the way the fans behaved and why the game was stopped for so long. Like that doesn't make anybody associated with the Dodgers look cool or good or feel great, right? When you lose 10-2 and your fans are throwing shit onto the field and the other team is not only taking that criticism and then looking like, like versions of heroes for having to deal with that, but then they beat the shit out of you 10-2 and, win the jawing war, so to speak, at least for the Dodgers look like chumps right now. We'll see what game 3 brings.
Yeah.
Exciting. Those fans in San Diego are going to go ballistic. That's
why I said, give me 5, Jared. Gotta have 5. Give me all 5.
Gotta have 5. Yeah. Would prefer 7. Both the Mets, Phillies, and both National League Division Series should be best of 7. I'm not saying change. There's this one fucking asshole on Twitter that's just so fucking stupid. Like I was like, man, I wish that these are best of 7 series, and he was like, it's people like you trying to change the damn rules. And I'm like, that's not what I said. Just leave the game alone. It's beautiful. Like, no. I just said, I want more baseball. I agree with you. Beautiful game. Want more of it is what I'm saying. But yeah, no, these 2 series, these are main event head-to-head matchups, and I'm hoping that both of them go 5. But yeah, I guess that's kind of it for now on Padres Dodgers. It is the heavyweight matchup that I feel like I've been waiting a long time for. 2020, if you go back, I know like people tend to just forget about 2020 because it was a shortened season, but some of those regular season Padres Dodgers games in 2020 had playoff, like it was almost like every time they played each other, it felt like a playoff game, or it was playoff quality baseball with drama and suspense and late inning comebacks and stars. So yeah, like having it pay off and having the matchup live up to the hype through the first two games, like a proud papa. You know, I've seen this rivalry grow from its infancy stages in 2020.
People forget that earlier this year that remember Will Smith called Profar like irrelevant and the bench is cleared.
Yep.
So like, yeah, every time these teams play, there's always skirmishes brewing.
Mm-hmm.
You could just tell that when Will Smith was like, he didn't even want to entertain Profar. Like Will Smith strikes me as the dude who give him like, make it street legal for him to turn into an absolute, like I'm talking Clark Kent transition into a fucking psycho. Make it street legal, and you're going to see a dude go from like 0 to 1,000. Like it's very buttoned up. It's very nondescript, but you let it be legal. Let him, like, this is a guy who I promise you at night, right before he goes to bed, he's like, and dear God, if you could just really consider that request on the whole purge thing and make it real.
Yeah.
I'd love to hear you out.
Yeah. Well, like the Padres are doing everything in their power to make sure that Dodgers fans cannot go to these games in San Diego.
Ooh.
If you're from LA, can't do it.
Yep.
Can't get to these Padres games, but you can download the Game Time app. You can. Nothing's stopping you from doing that. Game Time has a new feature called Game Time Picks that makes getting tickets to your favorite live events even easier. Game Time Picks filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats so you don't have to waste your time searching through thousands of tickets. So let's just say you are a Padres fan living in LA and you're like, what the hell? I'm a Padres fan. I want to go to the Padres game. I just happen to live in LA. What's going on with that? Well, you can bypass that whole embargo on your purchase by going to the Game Time app. The curation makes it easier to save more on sports, concerts, comedy, theater, and more. The all-in pricing feature, once you toggle that, it'll show the total upfront with no surprise fees at checkout. You can get a panoramic view from your seat in the app before you buy your tickets, and the lowest price guarantee or Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. Your purchase is of course covered with the most flexible customer service policy in the ticketing industry today. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use the promo code BID for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, use the promo code BID for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. Dallas, what time is it?
Game time.
It's game time. It is game time. All right. The Phillies and Mets, another series that is tied at 1-1. We had Major League Baseball cut up the schedule here so that it kind of sucks for the American League, but honestly, fuck them. The National League matchups were better, but the American League had to play the first game of the division series and then take a day off. This is if you're one of these teams that got one of the buys, like the Yankees, it's like you got a first round bye, you got to wait for the Royals to get there, then you play a game, then you got to take another day off, and it's because, you know, fuck, man, we don't want days with no baseball at all. It's not about you, Brian Cashman. It's about the fans. We're the ones that are watching the games. We don't want days off.
We pay your fucking paycheck.
Yeah.
You play when we tell you to play.
Exactly. We're sitting here being like, oh, a day without baseball? Oh, my attention's wandering. Next thing you know, I'm a cricket fan. Sorry. You lost me on that day off in between game 2 and game 3 of the division series. That was an unnecessary day of no baseball. So here we are. It is the second day of American League Division Series play coming up tonight. But we had Phillies, Mets game 2 in what was probably, I mean, an instant classic in terms of I've asked the question to you guys before, like, what are your most like rewatchable games that you'll go, like, I will go back and watch game 2 of the division series between the Mets and the Phillies. Like that to me was a rewatchable game. The way that it happened, the guys that contributed, the guys that were hitting homers, like Bryce Harper, being basically one of the greatest postseason performers who ever lived. Like we're now in that conversation. Like, do you have a nug on that, Jayhay?
I do. That was not what I was going to say. I can share some Bryce Harper stuff later, but like what struck me was nug based, where it was, I spent the whole game, or at least the second half of it, going from, okay, Pete Alonso did this, then Bryce Harper did this, then Brandon Nimmo did this, then Bryson Stott did this, then Mark Vientos did this, then Nick Castellanos did this. And it was like, each one was like its own.
A volley.
Yeah, it was like its own thing. And like, I loved looking up all the stuff about it, but it was every person had a game tying, a go ahead, a walk off. It was just, to your
Jason
point,
Stark,
it was on the short list. And sorry, one last thing. What was so great, the secondary thing that was so great is that the counter punches came so fast from the punches, right? It was like boom and then right back. And then and it was just so like, you didn't have to wait for anything. And it was, it was an epic game.
Yeah.
Well, Jason Stark wrote an incredible article in The Athletic, and it just basically outlines all of these incredible moments and like where they stack up, like historically contextualizes like what this all felt like and just how it all went down. Like the back-to-back homers, like just everything was, it was, if you're somebody like Jayhay, who, as you guys know, I call it just a pro nerd, like that was a fucking buffet. Like you were just one of many nerd great whites in the middle of a feeding frenzy, just mangling up information and nuggets. And it just, I can only imagine, because the context that Jason Stark puts it all in, I think is really, it's profound. But you realize what these moments in October do for fans, and you realize what they do for us watching. And that's why when you see them unfold, and I think, Jayhay, your point about them being so quick in succession, like boom, 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 that's like, holy shit, you can't catch your breath. As a baseball fan, it was tough to catch your breath. Like, again, I always use my wife as a barometer when she walks in the room, because she'll watch for 2 innings, 3 innings, and then she gets up and she'll take off and she'll come back. And then she's in and out of the room every half inning. And she's like, what is going on? What just happened? And I get to like replay it. I'm like, like Bryce Harper back to back. And she's like, are you serious? Yeah, she's like, now a Pete Alonso fan.
You know what's cool is the number of times that my genuine verbal reaction, just this postseason alone, we're only on day 2, or like we're just now getting to game 2 of the division series on the American League side. How many times I've genuinely said no fucking way, as a genuine reaction, like no fucking way. Like the Jergy home run robbery of Mookie, the back and forth nature of Mets Phils, Shohei hitting a home run was that his first postseason at bat?
No, was it? Yes. In the big leagues.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Was it?
Yes.
Shohei, no. Shohei got his home run?
Yeah.
No, it was the second at bat of the game.
Second postseason at bat. Either way, first postseason game. Yeah, there's been a multitude of things already, which I think is just really cool. Because I saw that commercial, like MLB trying to promote the playoffs, and you've got the guy being all dramatic, being like, you've never seen this before, and blah blah blah. And it's like, we don't always get a great batch of playoff moments, but so far, I mean, there's definitely been plenty of moments where your genuine reaction has been like, no fucking way. And this game 2 Mets Phils, like, poor Mark Vientos, the fact that you've had a legacy game and it will go down as a loss, that sucks. Like, I feel so bad for him.
Those homers, like the back-to-back homers, and I'm reading this again from the wonderful article by Jason Stark in The Athletic. Check it out.
How much did he pay you for this?
He's a fucking incredible writer, man. He's a great dude.
I know.
These were the 6th back-to-back homers in Phillies postseason history, but it was the first time they'd gone back-to-back to tie a game or give themselves a lead. So that alone separates the homers from all the other back-to-backers. On top of that, it was the first time the Phillies had even hit 2 homers in the same inning, not even necessarily back-to-back, that tied a game and or gave them the lead in the 6th inning or later since Game 4 of the 2008 NLCS at Dodger Stadium. And that was when Victorino hit the game-tying 2-run homer. And then 3 batters later, Matt Stairs.
Oh,
I'm here for the stats and the nugs from Stark, obviously. There is still maybe nothing in the game that's as good, that's better than Bryce Harper hitting a home run to a Phillies home crowd that is waiting for that moment. And
yes,
that was yesterday. And that ball, obviously everybody who watched it,
crushed,
basically dead centro to like absolutely annihilated. And like Jared asked for context on Bryce Harper earlier. We really are getting into the rarest air as far as his postseason performance goes. If you look at all the people who have received at least 150 career plate appearances in the postseason, the only names that are ahead of him in career OPS are Babe Ruth and Lou Gehrig. And if you raise the threshold, if you raise the threshold to 200, which leaves a pretty robust 104 player sample all time, he's number 1. And he and Beltran are the only players with a career OPS above 1,000 with 200 or more plate appearances. So Bryce Harper, still some career to go, maybe some downside still to come, but his performance to date has been as good in the postseason as we've ever seen from anybody with this level of quantity. And from 22 to 24, which is his Phillies era of postseason performance, no one has hit more home runs than he has with 12. So, and the guy next is Schwarber with 11. So no one is doing what Bryce Harper has done from a quality and quantity perspective in the postseason. And it doesn't, I know people know he's had his moments. It doesn't feel like he's whispered about quite in that breath yet. And I'm not quite sure why, because it's what I expect when I see him in the postseason. And that's for goddamn sure.
Well, I mean, it's because of the career comparison, I think. And I think people get sidetracked and almost separate the two. Like who is he compared to Mike Trout? Well, Mike Trout can't hold a candle to who Bryce Harper is when the calendar turns to October. Like that's not even a conversation. And I would be really curious to see, like, as this all starts to shape up, like where are they at? Where are they at right now, Jayhay, comparatively speaking, in WAR?
Harper and Trout, not even close.
Not even close, right?
It's basically a gap that Harper probably can't close.
So with that being said,
double his career.
Yeah, I haven't looked recently. I want to say it's like in the 80s to in the 50s.
Almost.
So does a postseason performance, a career postseason performance like this, should Bryce Harper just get to the cusp of what we would consider a Hall of Famer? Like
he's a Hall of Famer.
Bryce is getting in.
He's getting in. Yeah,
that's a done deal, right?
He's got the multi MVPs. When he's done, he'll be north of 60. I think if he can get to 60 WAR, which he will in the next 2 years, he'll be fine, and then he'll hopefully have a World Series on his resume by then.
Because I'm not even going to ask the other question or put that other energy out in the universe. So I wanted to, basically what I was trying to do is say, we know where Mike Trout is at. We know what's happened to Mike Trout. And if Bryce Harper, for whatever reason, should never get there, like WAR-wise, not to Mike Trout, but to that definitive Hall of Fame, like, is the production to this point and the postseason performance that he has put forth over his career, is that enough? Mm-hmm. Should he not get to that WAR number?
Yeah.
Is that? Yeah,
I mean, Mike
that's what I
Trout's
was
not
asking.
even the bar. Like the bar is like 60 for me.
Yeah, for sure. Well, that's why, like Jayhay said, like you're not even going to close that gap. So,
No.
so it wasn't about like ever sniffing the tail of the trout. It was just about like if you get to this number, this 60, 64, somewhere in there. If you get to there, are we good?
yeah.
Are we golden?
I think his peak would be viewed as unquestionably good enough to get in almost regardless of where the rest of his career goes. Yeah. When you couple the regular season, the postseason.
Yeah.
You want to hear the crowd?
Bro, are you fucking serious? George Herman
I mean, he's not.
Yeah,
even
it's-
you want to hear? You want
and
to hear
the
the
Iron
crowd?
Horse.
Bryce Harper's home run.
Fastball punched to the air, deep center field. Back it goes, and Bryce Harper brings life to Philadelphia. It's 3-2.
The clip doesn't even do it justice, to be honest with you. Like
They're saying they had the crowd noise turned down on the TV.
you can speak to it, Joe, as someone who has been at the Bell for
Bank?
a huge, the bank, for a huge Bryce Harper postseason home run. Have you experienced anything like it?
No, not in baseball. The pops off the bat in the playoffs and the Phillies games.
No, there's nothing like it.
Bro.
No.
And it's not even about that, dude. I mean, the biggest thing, the difference, I think, is like, it's really, I mean, someone hits a home run, the crowd's going to go crazy. It's really about like the 0-2 count, 2 strikes, 3 balls when your team's at the plate. Like that, it's that loudness that I think really like could affect the team. And that's the real home field advantage.
Yeah. My one regret is that when I was at that Mariners playoff game in 22 that went 18 innings, that there was no like Julio home run. Like there was no moment. Like that crowd was just waiting to pop. And there was never, like, outside of like a couple strikeouts and maybe a double or something, there was no moment for them to lose their absolute shit over. So
That's what it felt like with the Phillies series, dude. Because that game 1, after they hit the leadoff Schwarber, they were pretty much dead. The Phillies offense was like fucking dead for about 12 innings until that Bryce Harper home run. It kind of felt like, oh shit, like are the Phillies shit in the bed now?
I mean, they wasted one of the best Zach Wheeler starts of all time. I mean, 30 swings and misses in that start.
Bro, I couldn't even. That was stupid. Stupid. I can't remember watching a start where guys just looked like they were flailing.
Is there a
Flailing.
Zach
That's not
Wheeler
swinging
nug,
and missing.
Jayhay? When's the last time that you've had whatever it was, like 7 shut with 30 swings and misses in the postseason?
So he was the first pitcher in history. The 4th pitcher in history to go 7 or more innings, 1 or fewer hits, and 0 runs allowed, and not get the win. To the point about them wasting it. The previous instances were Mike Mussina in the 97 ALCS, and both Woody Williams and Brandon Backey head to head in the 2004 NLCS Game 5. So, a very rare. You don't see starts this good wasted this often.
I got the real Zach Wheeler nug is the fact that he was going against his former team, and before the game says,
"Oh wow, where'd you get that one?"
From Jayhay, who, like, obviously, do you know what I'm about to say? This is not from you, bro. This is literally a quote.
No, I know. I
Zach
was going
Wheeler.
to say where you got him playing. It doesn't matter.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Don't take. I mean, you're not fucking Buster only over. Not boy who.
Oh,
Excuse my
No.
French. What am I about to say now? What was I saying? Zach Wheeler on the Mets, 2015, in the playoffs, out for the season. The Mets, these fucking assholes, wouldn't even let him be in like the dugout during the playoffs. Then wouldn't even give him tickets. Said he had to buy tickets to go to the game. When he was on the fucking team, he made like a bunch of starts that year too. It wasn't like he was like a fucking minor league player.
Really?
Yes. And he said this before the game, seeing like, I won't forget that. I'm not going to forget that the Mets did this to me. and he came out there and pitched
and then
like
he
a
just
fucking
shoved
savage.
it up their ass.
That's crazy.
Yeah, no seats for me. I'm going to shove it up your seat.
That's wild. Like
That's
not even
incredible.
being able to comp him tickets is crazy.
Yeah, it's almost
we
so
don't
crazy.
even
It's
have
like, do you
two
even-
in, like,
how do you-
section
It's like
240.
you don't even believe it. Like, is Zach Wheeler just making shit up in his head to like get extra motivated? Like, that is insane to like make a player be like, sorry, bro, like you gotta
Yeah, what's your credit card number? Yeah.
use code Jared at game time.
Yeah, why don't you send us your credit card number and we'll get you taken care of. No problem.
I mean, we're looking to, that's laughable, obviously, but he's gone on to be he has an argument as one of the greatest postseason pitchers of all time, certainly of his
Correct.
generation. Like, that's where we're at right now. It's not just about one start either. Obviously, that was crazy that he was this good. And to Jared's point about the swings and misses, more swings and misses in that start than any Phillies pitcher in the regular season or the postseason since they started tracking this stuff back in 2008. So
That's insane.
in terms of swings and misses, it's the best start from a Phillies pitcher any of you have ever seen, at least since they started tracking it. And so, but he's got a 2.18 ERA for his career in the postseason, which is the third lowest in Major League Baseball history among people with at least 10 starts. It's just like, it's his original contract is one of the greatest free agent contracts in the history of baseball. That they poached him directly from a division rival is even more insane. That this start came against the division rival in the series against them, and it was ultimately wasted is just another layer to this. It's just there's so much going on here, and obviously the Phillies battling back and tying the series, is a little bit of a butt on this whole thing, but it was absolutely incredible to watch him work in game one.
I threw the thought out there because I mean we've had the conversation before about where he ranks as one of the best pitchers of his generation, and it's certainly very high. But now you can enter the name Zach Wheeler into greatest pitcher to never win a Cy Young if he doesn't go on to win one. Like it'll be Curt Schilling, Nolan Ryan, Mike Mussina, Zach Wheeler. Like that'll be your Mount Rushmore.
And all due respect to the Big Burrito, who I'm not saying Wheeler is necessarily a better pitcher than Curt Schilling, but the one argument that Wheeler has in his favor that Schilling definitely does not have is that Zach Wheeler may have been the best pitcher in baseball over a prolonged period of time statistically. That's not really the case with Curt Schilling. Curt Schilling was unlucky because Randy Johnson was on his team, right? But Randy Johnson was better. There's no real disputing that after the fact. He was contemporaries with Pedro and Maddox and all these other guys. Zach Wheeler, over a 6 or 7 or 8 year span, statistically by wins above replacement, he's up there in innings pitched, ERA, it doesn't really matter, is one of, if not the best pitchers in baseball. And that you're going to combine that with an unbelievable track record in the postseason
resume. Yep.
And to not have, I know postseason's got nothing to do with Cy Young, but he's a singular case maybe in baseball history to combine the regular season argument with the postseason pedigree and standing and still not have like really any hardware or really that close. This is going to be his second runner up. But in all the other seasons, he was just kind of an afterthought. It's just kind of crazy. How many pitchers would you rather have over Zach Wheeler for a single game?
With
Or
the
for a
benefit of
season?
hindsight, like not many on that list. No. Yeah, I think if you were to pick someone over Zach Wheeler, you're kind of just talking about like I'm just trying to catch lightning in a bottle with dominance because they were really good this year specifically.
Yeah.
Or like they have like a sub-1 over their last 7 starts, so let's ride the hot hand. Like that's the conversation. But
And he's not
when you're
gonna
talking
win
about
the Cy
larger
Young.
sample.
Yeah, he's not going to win the Cy Young, but he pitched his best baseball in the second half of the season. I think he had a sub-2 over like his final 10 or 11 starts during the regular season. So he is unequivocally one of the best pitchers in baseball who was pitching his best baseball down the stretch and into the postseason, continued obviously into the postseason. It's going to be a real reckoning when Zach Wheeler goes up for Hall of Fame too, where you have this guy who all the stats point to as one of the best pitchers in the baseball, and then he has no contemporary voting recognition to show for that sort of dominance. Obviously a conversation for a different day, but he gives them, I still think he's underrated in terms of a differentiating weapon that he gives the Phillies relative to some of these other teams.
Yeah. He's just a guy that I've never had to worry about. Like, I think even if he were, even if by the end of the year he had like a 4-something ERA, it's like, all right, well, now it's October. And like, that's when Zach Wheeler locks in. Like, I know that like there's no concern about Zach Wheeler once the playoffs start. Like, I know I'm getting a top tier dog in October. But on the Mets side of things, where are you at if you're the New York Mets? You're feeling like, I know that it was a devastating loss. Edwin Diaz pitches balls off. Obviously, you run him out there longer than the 3 outs. You're running a risk. Nick Castellanos with the walk-off. It was a dramatic comeback by the Phillies, who kind of looked, I don't want to say dead in the water, but it looked like it was going to be advantage Mets big time in game 2. They keep fighting back. Castellanos with the walk-off. Take away the sting of losing a game 2 that felt winnable at multiple points. You've got to be somewhat happy going to Philly and splitting, right? Coming home.
Yes, like that's always the digestible part of how it shakes out. And in a season where it's about mindsets, and season meaning postseason where it's about mindsets, if you are able to look at that and say, we're out of there with exactly what we wanted, which is an opportunity to go up to end this at our spot. Like, what other position could we be in, or would we rather be in? So yeah, things didn't work out, but now we're at home and now we're in the driver's seat. So if you can do that mentally as a group, you're in so much of a better spot than trying to hang around and worry about why things went the way they did.
Joe, you
But
got a
man, they were 6 outs away from the series basically being over, bro. Like, if they win 2 in Philly, what are the playoff odds? What's the odds on that? That's like 95% chance you win the series. Now it's probably about a 50-50 shot. So yeah, you feel good about it splitting. Going into that, you would have been happy splitting, but the way it shook out, that fucking hurts for the Mets. But it's good that they got Senga back, and he, after giving that leadoff home run, he did look good. So Senga can pitch again in the series. That's another big positive for the Mets. They can hang their hat on that. That's actually huge that Senga looked good after not pitching only once the entire season.
It's true. It's a good point, Joe.
But then you kind of worry that the Mets are running out of pitchers. They've come back from a lot of deficits, but that also kind of means they've blown a lot of leads already this postseason.
Big start for Manaea. Big start for Manaea.
Big start for Manaea. And big start for Aaron Nola. That's another thing I'm a little worried, because Nola didn't go in game 2, and the Phillies are saying, we want to pitch Christopher Sanchez because he's better at home. And to me, that just feels like something that a front office, when it comes to a playoff series, like, that's not really how they usually base decisions. Oh, like, one guy has better home splits. Like, it makes me kind of think there might be like kind of a Chris Sale situation where like Nola's not feeling 100%. Nola might be a little dealing with something. So we're going to start Sanchez in game 2 because we don't really trust Nola, and make the excuse Christopher Sanchez pitches better at home. That kind of seems like suspicious to me.
Well, that is something that is weighed. Now, whether or not there's a lot of weight put into that or not for the Phillies front office, I can't speak to that, but I can tell you that if you have numbers that tell you that a guy is significantly better at home than he has performed on the road, that's something that you consider, especially in the game's most important time of the year. Like, what are I'm looking up the splits right now for Christopher Sanchez.
2 and 5.
2 and 5 on the road, Jayhay?
No, his ERA is north of 5 on the road and in the 2s at home.
Oh, okay. There you go.
And
pretty
that's
extreme.
A big difference. But like, there's also a big difference. Nola pitching 1 game in a 5-game series and Nola pitching 2 games in a 5-game series. That is, I would say, an even bigger fucking difference than a guy who has splits off. Maybe they just liked Sanchez a little more than Nola.
But the idea is you're looking at that saying the performance of this individual outside of the comfort zone is essentially in their mind putting them behind the 8 ball. It's entering a ball game with less than 50% of a chance to win in their mind. And so why would we do that? I think that's where they're coming from. So if we can bank on a Christopher Sanchez outing at home, and then we can bank on Nola giving us what we think he'll give us, we like that as opposed to trying to just make sure that Nola's going to pitch twice. If that means sticking Sanchez into the fire in a place where we could conceivably put ourselves in a real tough spot, because now we've got to expose our bullpen, because that start for Sanchez would be coming with no days off after the fact, right? So now you're putting your bullpen in a tough spot.
Among the more than 100 pitchers who made at least a dozen starts on the road this season, the gap between Sanchez's overall ERA and his road ERA was tied for the third largest, behind only Mitchell Parker, your boy Joey Estes, and he was tied with Chris Flexen. So whether that's what they should be basing it on, I don't know, but the gap is basically as large as it got in Major League Baseball this year.
Could be a cheating thing. Sanchez has got a guy cheating for him, but only at home games.
You never know. You never know, Joe. What I do know, is that go ahead, Jay.
Sorry, you know what I do know?
What do you know?
Sign up with Underdog with the promo code Jared.
Yeah, Jared is the way that you spell it. Yeah.
You said Jared?
ED, yes.
ED.
Like erectile dysfunction, yes.
Underdog promo code Jared. Sign up to $1,000 in bonus cash and a special pick.
Yep, that's the one. That's
okay,
the one.
I just wanted to make sure, because that's the good stuff. We got a boost token in there.
Oh, hell
today.
Yeah, brother.
Today's a Monday, so check for that boost token.
Yep.
There'll be
Thank you for
discount tomorrow. Yeah, there'll be a discount tomorrow, probably built around the MLB playoffs. So if you're a baseball fan, Tuesday would be the last day you'd want to get in to take advantage of that. Otherwise, you're going to miss it. And then Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, there's lots of cool stuff too. So check it out. Promo code Jared.
Fuck yeah. All right, let's talk this Yankees-Royals series. I know we've only had one game. It was a farce. The winning run was scored after Jazz Chisholm was thrown out at second base. MLB reviewed it, got the call wrong, and he was allowed to score. That was the deciding run. I was just like hate tweeting that entire game. I was like, both of these teams suck. Like, this is a bad baseball game. Like, going from Yankees Royals to Dodgers Padres in game one was just such a crazy contrast in the style of baseball and just the quality of play. Like watching like Salvador Perez try and throw out base runners and watching the Yankees play defense, like team sucks. Like watching Judge up there 0 for 4, 3 strikeouts. It was basically like Juan Soto is the New York Yankees. Alex Verdugo contributed a little bit, but he drove in a run that shouldn't even have fucking been there. Yeah, just a shit baseball game in game one. I'm hoping it turns around. I'm hoping it turns around in game two. I mean, they've got some wiggle room to change my mind, but so far, 3 thumbs down for Royals Yankees.
Boring, dude. It was just boring.
It like wasn't good baseball.
Yeah, get a lead and keep it the whole game. Like, no one wants to see a team come back and have like dramatic effect. And Judge looked like shit.
Yeah.
Lights were too bright for Judge.
Yeah, Judge looked like Mookie up there.
That game was the difference. This, in my opinion, this was the difference in one inning, and this is how the postseason works. But the difference in one inning between starters. You got 5 innings from Cole, and you got 4 innings, right? So,
well, he sucks too. Everyone sucks.
Hold on. When you think about where the action occurred, though, late in the game, right off of Lorenzen, was it not?
Yeah.
There's a chance that if you squeeze another inning out of your starter, maybe you don't have to go to Lorenzen. Maybe the guy who has to give you the inning and a third worth of work who is Lorenzen, doesn't have to show up. And now maybe things look a little different. And maybe that lead that gets relinquished due to some fuckery doesn't get relinquished because you're not in that spot, because you're just not getting to those guys. It's the difference between the bullpen or between the starter giving you 12 outs and 15 outs. And that's why I've identified that 15 out mark this season is, and especially in both of these series, because who's going to give their bullpen the best opportunity to succeed? Who's going to put their bullpen in the best possible position to be impactful over the course of the entire series, as opposed to having to lean on them in one specific moment? And I think this is a matter of one inning's worth of work from their starter that got the Royals in the spot.
Yeah, in conclusion, Garrett Cole sucks. The first inning there, it was a 1-2-3 first for Garrett Cole. Exit velos of 105.2, 108.4, and 102.5. The fact that this game wasn't 13-4 Royals is crazy. I'm so disappointed that they weren't able to capitalize on how much Garrett Cole sucks.
It could have been for the Yankees, Jared. This scoreboard should have looked a lot different for the Yankees. The Yankees were 2 for 13 with runners in scoring position.
They suck.
2
Both teams suck.
for 13.
This series is the suck
The Royals
bowl.
were 2 for 4. They had 500 with runners in scoring position.
They suck. That sucks. I'm gonna watch this game tonight, just hoping that we know how to turn a double play. Like last night, Fernando Tatis Jr. hitting absolute tanks opposite field. Throw him a fastball up in the zone, fucking smash, and he's pimping it. The home run, Gleyber Torres hit a ball that barely got. It was another dinky ass Yankee Stadium home run. It was in the first row. It's a home run in one ballpark. It's that one. The game, the quality of baseball was butt cheeks. I was pissed.
You're just bitter. That's okay.
What am I bitter about?
I couldn't imagine.
What am I? It's not even like I accepted the Red Sox weren't making the playoffs in February. Like, it's not like, oh man, like the Red Sox missed out on the playoffs again. Damn. Like the playoffs were never a thing for me. I'm not bitter about anytime that I have a negative tweet about,
it's just disguised in
anytime I criticize anything
jacket,
going on in the playoffs, all the reply, what time are the Red Sox playing? It's not about the Red Sox. I don't care about Red Sox right now. I'm not thinking about the Red Sox. I'm thinking about good quality baseball. That's why I'm so gung-ho. We did what? 45 minutes on fucking Dodgers Padres? It's because I'm into it.
Hell yeah, man. I'm into it too. Did you know that Garrett Cole's average exit velocity allowed in game one, to your point about that,
highest of all time?
Is that the nug you saw?
I'm just guessing.
Oh, okay. All right. Because now you had me doubting my own research, but the actual answer is in basically exactly 2 years. Since October 4th, 2022 was the last time that he had a start that was this bad. So definitely his highest of the season. Not even particularly close in that regard. But yeah. So what you saw with your eyes was backed up by the data, is my point.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Sucks. He sucks. Gleyber sucks. Who else?
Who else sucks?
Jazz?
He's fine, but he was out. It's not his fault. It was an awful throw. Like the fact that he was out and the throw was like almost into center field. It's crazy.
Why are we not talking more about how?
That's a good point. What?
Like, isn't the replay? Isn't this moment exactly what this is for?
Yes.
Is the game's biggest moment on the game's biggest stage. We got to get it right.
Well, to the naked eye, because I tweeted that was the worst throw of all time, and he's still going to be out. So the naked eye thought he was out. Then I see the replay, and I'm like, oh, he was definitely out. And the umpires come back, call the field, confirmed he's safe. Then the next day, I see John Boy do a breakdown, which, by the way, he had an awesome video breaking down the pitch tipping by Devin Williams. He caught that and did an awesome breakdown on that. And this one in particular just confirmed what I thought with my own eyes. just from instant reaction and then seeing the replay. Jazz was out. Therefore, it should have been 5-5 going into extras. So, like, I get it. The Yankees are great. They're a great team. They're the best team in the American League. They're the best team remaining on that side of the bracket. And, I don't know. Like, why are we fucking the Royals? Is Rob Manfred really that desperate to get Shohei Ohtani versus Aaron Judge in the World Series? Is that what's happening here?
I wouldn't rule out anything with that guy.
No. You could rule Jazz Chisholm out all you want, but that's not going to happen either.
Exactly. Yeah, he's out. He was out. Like, it, I was disappointed.
This series today, however, very excited. It's a day full of lefties. Give it a lefties. You got 4 southpaws squaring off. Scooble Boyd in the Motor City Kitty Guard series. And
that's a tough one. Which lefty do you like more there?
Reagan's Rodon.
Matt Boyd taught Scooble everything he knows, is the way I understand it.
That's right. You've been reading. You know what's up. A little bit of the teacher student. You know what I mean?
Yep.
The
Don't
apprentice.
Don't be surprised if the guards have the inside track on Scooble today because of old Matt Boyd.
That's right.
Also, they call him nickname Oil Can.
Shit.
Has that been taken before?
No.
Boydie around these parts.
Okay, good.
Boydie.
Yeah, that's good. I'm sure. I bet it is around those parts.
Yeah.
That the first game 1, an absolute trouncing at the hands of the guards.
Oh gosh, that was over before it started, wasn't it, guys?
It sure was. Joe Ram steps up early, delivers.
Those bullpen games are so cool until the first guy gives up a ton of runs, and then you realize that you have 8 1/3 innings left to fill, and
didn't this
a
play
bullpen
out,
to do it.
Jayhay, didn't this play out exactly how you and I both predicted? We talked about what this bullpen was capable of. I highlighted their ability in multiple guys to be able to give you multiple innings worth of work. Well, it wasn't necessarily that, but Bybee gave you 4 2/3. Here's his line: 4 2/3, 4 hits, 1 walk, 6 punch outs. And the line for the bullpen is 4 1/3 innings pitched, 0 hits, 7 punch outs, 1 walk. So exactly how we thought it would play out. If you're going to have to go to a bullpen earlier than you would really like to, who's that going to favor? And I think what we have learned is that very colorfully, AJ Hinch has painted the success for the Tigers and their pitching staff as pitching chaos. And I think what we have watched unfold very quickly, and what I think will continue to unfold, is it really just sort of be chaotic and not necessarily constructive chaos. And I know that can work over the period of a month or so during the post or during the stretch run. Right now, though, when it comes to overexposing guys or sending guys back into the fire, it's almost like Civil War type medicine here. Like we're not going to be able to numb anything up. We can really kind of cut it off and maybe bandage it, and we're gonna have to send you back out there. So until then, like, it might be a bloody stump that you're out there on, but that's the best we can do.
I hope I'm right on this, but my initial thought when it was 7-0 was you just got to shake this one out. Like, it's not like it in real time. I understand how it feels like, man, we're outmatched, we're fucked, series is over, they're way better than us when you have such a lopsided score in game 1. But all it takes, a little 2-1 victory in game 2, series is tied, you're good to go. Like, I didn't come away from such a one-sided victory by the guards thinking that the Tigers had no place in this series. It's one game. I feel like there were a lot of overreactions to the blowout loss.
Yeah, I mean, I certainly understand what you are saying, and I think you're right. The vibe changes as soon as Scooble steps back on the mound, right?
Right.
And that's what's coming in game 2. And they'll be favored in that individual game. I would imagine the where I would point to it being meaningful, other than being up 1-0 in a series where you have to win 3 games, is that the Tigers did have to use a non-trivial number of pitchers to get through that game. I know Olsen soaked up 5, but they used Holton, they used Madden, they used Gunther, and Gunther in particular has been an important piece for them in some key spots. I know he only threw a third of an inning. Montero was used. So like that may not matter in game 2. Shit, it may not matter in game 3, but there may come a point where Cleveland making that non-competitive and them getting 0 length out of some guys that they use will in fact matter.
Jay, I know it's hindsight, but I've got to believe that they look back on it now and go, what were we really after, and what were we really going to achieve with Holton starting that ball game instead of Reese Olson? Because Holton gives you, he didn't give you an out.
Yeah,
right.
No,
you got nothing. And then what you have is a 5 spot in the first inning, but then you've got Reese Olson who gives you 5 fantastic innings.
Yeah, I guess sometimes that comes down to a question of like whether a manager or a team is being overly cute, or whether that advantage is
pitching
worth it.
Chaos.
Because you're right. Like you would typically be like, oh, well, I guess they're playing the platoon advantage with the first 3 batters in the game, et cetera, et cetera. And that works for, I guess, a good chunk of the first couple of batters that they were. But like Jose Ramirez was like way better against left-handed pitchers this year on a rate basis than he was against righties. So I just don't even know how that holds up. But
and I think and I said this about the A's all season long because it's true. And it's true with developing clubs. The manager, the front office are met almost daily with decisions that you have to either make because you're going to try to win this ball game, or you've got a decision that you're going to make or maybe not make because this is really about the growth of a player or the growth of a group, right? You could go get a guy early, he's getting his ass kicked in June, or that guy could end up wearing it. And it's because he's going to learn some things on the other end of that, right? And I think that could very well have been a decision that was made where, all right, we're trying to win this game and we feel like this is our best strategy. But I also believe that there's something to be said for guys who have developed over the course of a season, who have maybe earned the opportunity now and said, we got here because of who I've been and what I've been able to achieve in a certain role. Is there any thought to letting me ride? Is there any thought to giving me the ball and let me start this thing? Because I could grow as a player and we could grow as a group. And maybe this is the outing that I've sort of been reserving for Jackson Jobe. Maybe that was the outing that Reese Olson could have had that says, fuck your 5 spot to get this started. Reese Olson's here. And he was the answer when we were talking about who comes after Skubal. It was supposed to be Olson. I know it's hindsight, but it feels like that's a tough one to swallow today.
Any thoughts, fellas, on Gritty Tiggs guards tonight?
It's a must-win for the Tigers.
Must win for the Tigers.
And
I agree.
They have a must-win pitcher on the mound.
Yep. Not just because of who's on the mound, but the situation in which they put themselves in if they lose tonight. Jayhay, your guards, you ready to stomp on their throats?
I mean, I think they'll be mentally ready to stomp. I think it's going to be hard to do too much stomping with Skubal on the mound. I think the Tigers are. My prediction is the Tigers take this game. I'm not so blind as to go against him, but anything can happen. Anything can happen.
That's right.
Matthew Boyd.
I have almost no confidence in Matthew Boyd.
Jayhay. He was a Detroit Tiger for many years.
Yes, he was.
No, I know.
Starting 9 alum, Matthew Boyd, Dallas.
But don't you think that could help?
That's right.
Yeah.
Because he's got the extra juice, bro.
Yeah.
Former teams stick up their.
Speaking of having extra juice, we got to talk about Lucy here. 100% pure nicotine, always tobacco free. And Lucy isn't like every other nicotine pouch. that's owned by Big Tobacco. They're like the mom and pop shop of pouches. I know Joe has had a bunch of cans of Lucy going during the live streams, which were a massive success. People love the streams. People were asking if we're doing more streams. Not sure. Don't know. I would venture to guess if we did them, they would be much smaller. I don't know that Dallas is traveling across the country again to sit next to Tyler Milliken. No offense.
Hey,
no offense.
I love me some Milky.
Yeah,
love me some Milky.
Yeah, but I love me some Lucy. If you're not a poucher, a guy or a gal, Lucy gum is now available in 2 milligrams, 4 milligrams, or 6 milligrams. Set yourself up with a subscription, and you can have Lucy delivered straight to your door. They've got a bunch of great flavors. I think, and I talked to, who I talked to about this with? Lou Merloni. Because we were both dippers, but now he's a pouch guy. And he's like, I can go to dinner with my wife, throw one in. She's never going to know. She used to yell at me for dipping. Now I can just pop one of these in. No mess.
Well, she will now because she listens to the pod.
That's true. Yeah, she does listen to the pod. Yes. Shout out to Mrs. Merloni. Great woman. But they're just more convenient. There's no mess. So let's level up your nicotine routine with Lucy. Go to lucy.co/ you guessed it, BID, and use the promo code BID to get 20% off your first order. Lucy offers free shipping and has a 30-day refund policy if you change your mind. That's lucy.co and use the promo code BID to get 20% off and free shipping. Lucy products are only for adults of legal age, and every order is age verified. Warning, this product contains nicotine. Nicotine is an addictive chemical. Okay. Any other final thoughts here before we all strap in for this Game 2 Monday of the American League side of the Division Series bracket? Jayhay?
I have some nugs to spit out.
Oh, please. Yes.
Can that be my final thought?
Absolutely.
All right, let's go chronologically here for Mets Phillies game last night. See if I did this correctly. Pete Alonso, the first Mets first baseman with multiple games with a home run in a single postseason since Carlos Delgado in 2006. Bryce Harper's 12 homers over the 2022 3 and 4 postseasons are the most in MLB over that span. Brandon Nimmo's home run was the 7th go-ahead home run in the 7th inning or later of a postseason game in Mets franchise history, and the 2nd this season. Obviously, Pete Alonso qualifies there as well from the wild card. It's the first time since 1999 that they've had multiple such home runs in the same postseason. Of course, that was Todd Pratt and Edgardo Alfonso who did it in 1999. Not that I need to tell any listener that. Bryson Stott, 8th batter ever with a go-ahead triple in the 8th inning or later of a postseason game. The first since Connor Gillespie in 2016.
Connor Gillespie. I can just hear that in Kevin's voice.
In 2016 NLDS Game 3, and the first Phillies player to do so since Manny Trio did so in Game 5 of the 1980 NLCS. Mark Vientos became, this is a little bit of a statistical quirk, he's the youngest player in NL history with 3 extra base hits in a postseason game, but just the 7th youngest ever. The 6 youngest to do it have all occurred in the American League. Carlos Correa, Gleyber Torres, Evan Longoria, Josh Naylor, Jacoby Ellsbury, and Yordan Alvarez. But Vientos, the youngest with 3 extra base hits in a postseason game in the NL ever. And Nick Castellanos, the first walk-off hit for the Phillies in a postseason game since Jimmy Rollins in Game 4 of the 2009 NLCS. Quick final note on that series, at least. The Phillies bullpen through 2 games, 6 innings pitched, 13 hits, 10 runs, and 3 homers allowed. Feel like that might need to be addressed in short order, or maybe Nola just goes all 9 tonight. Aaron Judge, the narratives are starting to get a little strong. 144 batting average, .531 OPS, and 36 strikeouts over 100 plate appearances. So that's a 36% strikeout rate over his last 22 postseason games. He had an OPS approaching 1,000 through his first 23 career postseason games. So a direct reversal of how his postseason career started. Zach Wheeler, I brought up that he was the fourth pitcher ever to go 7 or more innings with 1 or fewer hits and 0 runs allowed and not get the win. He's the first pitcher ever to have multiple career postseason such starts ever. He's the only pitcher to ever do that. And he also has 4 starts in the postseason of 6 innings pitched and 2 or fewer earned runs where he did not get the win. That's all since 2022. No NL pitcher, all other NL pitchers have 6 such starts over that span. So he's got 4. All other NL pitchers have 6. Jackson Merrill. He is the 6th youngest player in postseason history with 3 or more hits and 3 or more RBI in the same game. Behind, Andrew Jones in 1996, Miguel Cabrera in 2003, Joe Garagiola in 1946, Juan Soto in 2019, and Carlos Correa in 2015. And him and Fernando Tatis, who are both in their age 25 season or younger, it's the first instance of teammates having 3 hits and 3 RBI in the same game at that young in postseason history. So shout out to the two of them doing big things, and those are the Nugs.
Thank you, Jayhay. Yep. Joseph, final thoughts?
Final thoughts. Strap in. Get ready to watch the ball. Mm-hmm. Let's go. We're just rooting for good teams. Everybody stay safe. And hopefully next time we come on the pod, we got some more games to talk about.
Hell yeah, brother. Yeah, no one get hurt out there watching these games, please. Mm-hmm. Yeah, we need you guys staying safe so you can listen to more Baseball is Dead. Dallas Braden, final thoughts?
Out of teams that Tarik Skubal has faced 8 or more times outside of the Oakland Athletics, the most success he's had against any of those teams would be the Cleveland Guardians. The Cleveland Guardians have punched out the 4th fewest amount of times in baseball. And I just wonder if there's going to be a collective approach, not a shift in approach, but a collective concentrated approach to putting the baseball in play against a guy who generates more swing and miss than any motherfucker on the planet.
Okay, thank you for that, Dallas. My final thought. If you're a fan of Baseball is Dead, you appreciate the content. I know that you know other baseball fans. Please tell your baseball fan friends about us. This time of year is an opportunity for growth for the show, for the pod, for the YouTube channel. And the best way to do that is through word of mouth. It's you giving someone else a vote of confidence that you enjoy the show and you think that this other baseball fan in your life will also enjoy the show. And it's a time of the year where a lot of people are excited about baseball. So it's a place where all of us can come together to discuss, break down, and have some fun talking about the game of baseball that we all love here. So yeah, we appreciate any support, any help that you can give us in telling some new folks about Baseball is Dead. Looking always to reach a newer, bigger audience, and the bigger that the audience gets, the more cool stuff that we can do, like having Dallas fly across the country to do live streams for the playoff games. And the really cool video that will be coming out, the documentary of Dallas's last day at the Coliseum, stuff like that. The content gets better with the audience growth. So if you can help us in doing your part, that'd be greatly appreciated. Enjoy these baseball games tonight. Jake, when will we be back?
I believe we're looking at Wednesday morning.
Wednesday morning. Okay. Do we have a Jake's Takes?
Yeah, let's just go watch some Game 2s, baby. Promo code Jared on Underdog to get in on the action.
Let's go watch some Game 2s. All right. We'll see you then.
We go.